If you've been on the internet in the past 5 years, you'll know the name Belle Delphine, as the young adult star's antics of selling gamer girl bathwater, supposedly getting arrested, and graphic videos propelled her to notoriety. Despite all the success though, I haven't seen anyone truly go through the woman's history to discover what is the real story behind her enigmatic persona, with many wondering if there's a mystery man behind the whole performance pulling the strings. Well, after over 100 hours of research, I'll do my best to break down the true story of Miss Delphine, with the truth actually being quite surprising. But before we get to that, let's go back to the beginning of the story. Mary Belle Kushner, Belle Delphine's birth name, was born in Cape Town, South Africa on October 23, 1999. For the first 11 years of her life, Belle lived in the turbulent country. Theft, stolen cars, and home invasions were all common occurrences where they lived. That being said, Belle claims that with her child eyes, everything about South Africa seemed idealistic, with beautiful gardens and beaches. While she reminisces positively about the stunning natural features, the same cannot be said for her home situation. Her parents had met on a photo shoot where her mother, who was originally from the UK, had flown to South Africa to model. They quickly fell into a turbulent relationship that resulted in a surprise pregnancy. The couple was put under pressure due to the fact that Belle's mother's visa was expiring. In a desperate attempt to do the noble thing, they married so that the two could stay together and try to make it work for their unborn child. Young Belle grew up feeling like she was walking on eggshells around her father. She recounts that he would constantly make fun of her for her interests, and would refuse to hold her school bag because it was pink.
He's just a huge asshole, and he was always very no jokes, so serious.
Their relationship was really rough. They fought like a lot. And I think growing up around violence a lot was really I don't know, it's kind of strange.
As these fights became more and more violent, eventually the young mother took her daughter back to the UK, divorcing shortly thereafter. There, 11-year-old Belle would begin to see more of her mom's side of the family, who were very conservative and religious. Her mother was considered to be the rebellious child and felt the need to parent as the cool mom. For Belle, this meant that her caretaker never asked where she was going, and the young girl could disappear for days on end. Things got so extreme that at 13, Belle took a train to London where she met up with a 25-year-old man from the internet and spent the day with him. Although Belle claims that nothing inappropriate happened between the two, this meet could have ended terribly.
And then you grow up as an adult and you're like, my mom didn't care.
With no adult guidance, she turned to the internet as a source of nurturing, having claimed several times that YouTube raised her. Belle would spend 13 hours a day scouring the web, shaping her identity through self-proclaimed edgelords such as iDubbbz and Filthy Frank.
It's about that time!
These YouTubers developed Belle's sense of humor, and at the same time, she was also drawn to anime, another staple of online culture. She would join online message boards and eventually met up with individuals in real life. The thing is, these online chat rooms were not full of other 13-year-olds, but rather older men. Belle and her friends would hang out with these 30-year-olds, flattered by the attention. This sort of behavior resulted in her cheating on her first boyfriend by kissing a man in his 30s at a concert.
But in the UK, it was a really big thing for 25-year-olds to be dating 14-year-olds. So all my friends in this type of community, yeah, it really, really was.
Perhaps because she was drawn to older people from a young age, Belle has admitted to not having many school friends because she was a quote-unquote weirdo and had a thick South African accent. The small English town was not very receptive towards her, but that didn't stop Belle from trying to fit in and impress her peers. She would purposefully fall off playground swings, injuring herself to make the kids laugh. Further, the boys at school liked Belle at first. However, this all changed when they realized she had obsessive tendencies. This was displayed in the form of her giving out strange gifts such as helicopters and large teddy bears.
Okay, you sound like you're putting in effort for these boys. You used to be the sim.
I totally used to be the sim.
Despite her attempts to interact with her peers, the online community truly understood her best. She used it as an escape from her mother, whose drinking problem persisted in the UK. The effects of this issue played into Belle's choice to abstain from alcohol when her older boyfriends offered it. This was for the best and may have helped Belle stay out of even more trouble. But before we go any further in today's video, I think it should be pointed out that people like Miss Delphine or even myself deal with a lot of threats involving doxing and swatting, which is why today's sponsor is Delete Me. Whether you're someone with millions of subscribers or just an average internet user, your identity is important. And you may not know, but there are a lot of websites out there with your personal information, including your full name, phone number, and real-life address. So the concept behind Delete Me is pretty simple. You provide them your personal information, they will scrub the internet to find websites with that information, and then they will demand those websites to take it all down. I have used this service myself, and they have successfully deleted my information off of dozens of websites. Delete Me will remove your data and help you protect yourself from the risks of identity theft, stalking, and harassment. So to try out this service for yourself and get 20% off of the consumer plan, I encourage you to click the description down below and use code GAMER at checkout. This is truly a service I encourage everyone to use. With a turbulent home life, a desire to spend her time online, and no one to make her go to school, Belle's attendance was disastrous. To save her grades, her mother even agreed to let her transfer and start fresh somewhere new. However, social media ended up ruining her chances of a clean break. You see, Belle loved Facebook and would post and comment on the site often. Someone from her old school shared a post about cancer, with Belle saying, "I love cancer because I get to go to Disney." As she tells the story, after attending just one day at the new school, kids found her online joke, with her subsequently being harassed about the comments, leading her to be treated for depression. Belle went through the trouble of printing out every mean comment and forcing her mother to read each one. This resulted in Belle dropping out at the age of 14, which might I add is illegal in the UK, but she was never caught due to the messy transfer, so she ended up slipping through the cracks. Now not needing a formal education, Belle was free to pursue her internet obsession without constraints. She started to post photo shoots on her Facebook before turning to Instagram in 2015. There she began exploring Japanese fashion, building up her confidence enough to step out in public in the outlandish costumes. This was all very shocking to her small English town. As she became more comfortable with the judgmental glares from neighbors, Belle decided to move in with her boyfriend, despite only being 15. She never stated this man's age, but considering he had his own place, I'll assume he was much older. It was between the ages of 15 and 17, free from her mother, Belle began to build up an audience online of mostly young girls like herself. She made a YouTube page in 2016 and posted makeup tutorials.
I've had a few people ask me how I do my makeup, so I thought I'd just make a quick and easy video of how I do it.
Despite having a small following, the aspiring content creator realized she was never going to make anything of herself from just clothing content. During this time, Belle worked as a barista and waitress to make money. The young dropout knew that her options were limited, so with her passions revolving around the internet, she went back to the drawing board for a career path. With this, she realized the easiest thing she could do to get attention would be to share sexual photos of herself. But selling lewd content wasn't good enough on its own, as she wanted to find an interesting spin on the format. This is when she had an epiphany. No one shares what adult content they watch with their friends. However, they might share an image of a hot girl if it was strange enough on its own merit. Belle needed to find the balance between being both sexy and memeable, so that she would have a shot at going viral. The next piece of the jigsaw to fall in place was when Belle met her current partner in 2017, and shared her desire to make money off of the internet. He must have been on board with this because 6 months later, after her 18th birthday, Belle's content turned much more racy. The young woman also decided to explore herself more sexually with her boyfriend by attending swinger parties. She admits to never swapping partners, but it was a turn-on enough to just be in the same room with other couples. This experience drove her to start posting even more suggestive content, but not without a catch. Playing into her desire to be lusted after, she wore minimal clothing, along with odd additions such as pink wigs and cat ears, describing the look as the weird elf kitty girl aesthetic. She drove men wild with her ability to contort her face into the ahegao expression, colloquially referred to as the anime orgasm face. Belle walked the line between bizarre and sexy, which became a huge hit. Swiftly, her demographic changed from young girls to over 85% men. The year of 2018 went spectacularly for the young woman as her strange idea of weird sexy worked its magic, and her image was shared far and wide across pages, such as Reddit and 4chan, where she was considered a genius. It was on these corners of the internet that she began to collect die-hard fans that many would soon call her army of simps. Now it was time to monetize, when later that year she launched a premium Snapchat costing $50 a month, and a Patreon where she interacted with her fans. Belle received so much attention that even Rolling Stone commented, describing her as an alien Disney princess porn star. Her pricing for her exclusive material varied from $1 a month to the outrageous sum of $2,500. Paying the top tier would allow the customer to access every one of her photos, more exclusive behind-the-scenes shots, and a one-on-one Skype session. It's unclear how many people actually paid this sum, with the only person fessing up being YouTuber Will N.E., who wrote it off as a business expense for a video.
And then there's King, which is $1,000 a month. You are the king of my world! I fucking better be for $1,000.
Yeah, I want a fucking engagement ring with that.
The YouTuber claimed to not be interested in any of her explicit content, but rather reached out to her to ask for help to get back at an enemy. He believed that using Belle's army of followers, he could outdo his nemesis Jill Hudson, mom of fellow YouTuber Morgs, in their competition for subscribers. To his surprise, Belle actually responded to this and sent a very controversial video back.
Rise up, people. We need to stop Morg's mum.
Jesus Christ! What is that?
With stunts such as these, by 2019, Miss Delphine had amassed 4.2 million followers, who were eating up her quirky and suggestive publicity stunts, with many defending it as a form of performance art. She would wear short skirts and make sexual faces while eating raw eggs, or playing with the dead octopus that she had stuck googly eyes on, all for the sake of attention. People online could not get enough of this strange and mysterious individual whose original posts seemed so unhinged. She described her work as farming content for YouTubers who reacted to things online, a perfect symbiotic relationship. That's not to say everyone was a fan of Belle.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. The Whore of Babylon has a cup full of liquid, by the way, in gold, a gold cup full of liquid that she offers the world.
Really?
Absolutely.
With her growing fame, it was not surprising that some would try to expose any scandals she had been involved in. Indigo White, an adult content creator who recently transitioned to be a man, had attempted to expose Belle for posting sexual content while being underage in 2017. Now, just a heads up, this story is a bit convoluted, so I'm going to try to break it down the best I can. This tale began when a mysterious man reached out to Belle with a way to make quick money selling nudes, but the 17-year-old wasn't interested because of her age. However, the man had an idea to ease her fears. He wanted Belle to scour Tumblr for random girls' nudes and use them as her own to sell online for a profit. It's f***ing easy. I feel uncomfortable doing that though. Horny old dudes will pay for anything. I'm not desperate enough. I never said you had to actually sell your nudes. Just think of it as a more rewarding than normal hobby. From these screenshots, it seems clear that the man is attempting to manipulate Belle into going along with what he wants, downplaying the severity of stealing someone's image. He took her desire to travel and convinced the teen to partake in the scam. Belle alleges that she only did this for 3 months, and that in that short time, the young girl got to know the man well enough for him to confess to his addiction to opioids. Should I get high on Xanax? No, you said you haven't for a while, so why start now? You're not usually stressed or sad. After she ended her business relationship with this man, Belle would become famous 2 years later. But in this time, one woman, Minty Darling, realized that Belle had stolen her X-rated photos in her scheme and went public with the claim in September of 2018. The internet sensation reached out to the wronged sex worker, even offering her what money she made off of the scam. Belle explained that she was in desperate need of cash, but didn't want to post her own nudes and was too lazy to get a job, and trusted the man she was working with. Minty turned down the cash and wanted Belle to make a public apology, but the request was ignored. When Belle's fans started picking up the story, the young internet star panicked and reached out again to Minty, pleading with her to release a public message saying all was forgiven. Minty declined this offer, feeling Belle needed to pay for the consequences of her actions. Shortly after this, a Facebook post trashing Belle began circling the internet by a woman named Katarina Moon. Allegedly, Belle reached out to this woman and asked for her help on how to deal with the Minty situation. This person then turned on her and released a lengthy post titled, "Belle Delphine is cancelled," where she slammed the star for all of her wrongdoings. By the time Indigo White released their video, the YouTuber basically encapsulated everything being said, but made the story a bit more cohesive. Indigo didn't just talk about the stolen nudes, but called Belle a scammer for advertising like she was going to post real explicit content, but was actually censoring the majority of her pictures. Additionally, they brought up the rumor that Belle had stolen underage girls' nudes and sold those as well, though there's no proof of that claim. It's also interesting that Indigo has since removed the video trashing Belle from his YouTube channel for reasons unknown. Despite this huge scandal and threats of legal action, nothing ever came to fruition. The situation seems convoluted enough that a majority of Belle's fans were not even aware of the situation, let alone upset about it. Besides a brief period of stress, the young star came out of the drama unscathed, and began brainstorming new ways to get more people talking about her in a more unique light. With her fame growing, Belle turned her focus to the idea of selling creator products. While every other YouTuber at the time wanted to sell personal merch in the form of t-shirts, she wanted something different. At first, she pondered the idea of selling her hair, but realized it wasn't sustainable and had been done before. This is when genius struck after she saw a simp comment that they wanted to drink the water she bathed in. Belle ran with the idea, figuring why not, and bottled used soapy liquid, adding a colorful pink label titled "Gamer Girl Bathwater." She then started advertising on social media, but I can't imagine she knew that this would become the biggest publicity stunt of her entire career. Even with the high price of $35 for a jar, Belle quickly sold out the 600 plus containers. It was covered on every side of the internet, even getting mainstream media coverage. People found the stunt both disgusting and genius. Popular YouTubers bought the jars, with some drinking the water and others vaping it.
It's bathwater.
With all the money seemingly coming in, it's not a surprise that the internet took things too far, claiming that the water could give you herpes, leading to hospitalization and caused patient zero of COVID-19. While on the surface it seemed like an easy way to get rich quick, Belle's later revelation shattered those expectations. You see, when she created the labels, she forgot to add a disclaimer on the product. This meant that the gamer girl could be liable if someone drank the water and became sick. In a panic, she quickly emailed everyone that purchased the jars and had them sign disclaimers before she sent it out. After this big headache, she was able to eventually get people their packages, and most believed that this would be the end of the story. However, in May of 2024, she came clean with the whole situation. Belle took to Twitter explaining that she had violated PayPal's terms of service, resulting in a $2,500 fine for each infraction. This means she lost all the money she made, totaling $90,000. When Belle pushed back, PayPal refused to give her the reason she was fined. Despite this cash loss, Belle kept true to her fans and mailed all the bathwater out of her own pocket. After going public with the problem, PayPal at first refused to comment, but Belle's fans didn't let up and continued to push for an answer. This resulted in mainstream news sites picking up the story, such as Business Insider and NBC News. They criticized PayPal for its actions, even saying that they were notorious for being an untrustful service that discriminated against sex workers, getting them in hot bath water with many civil rights groups. Eventually, mounting social pressure gave way and Belle got the money back after the company stated that they had reversed their terms of service. Many asked why she hadn't called out the company sooner, but it appears she kept it a secret to preserve the allure. This really goes to show just how dedicated Belle was to keeping her persona alive. Following the bathwater stunt, Belle had more attention around her name than ever before. she continued to post lewd but not actually nude photos on her Patreon. That is until she decided to do something more extreme and announced that she would be creating a hub account. All of her fans went wild with the news, readying their hand lotion and tissues as her supposed adult content was announced to drop in 2019. Unfortunately for them, Belle had a special surprise. You see, the young woman had captivated her fans' attention for months, but when the countdown came to a close, they were left disappointed, as there wasn't anything explicit released, but instead just puns. Fans clicked on a video titled "Belle Delphine plays with her pussy," which would just show her petting a stuffed cat. Another named "PewDiePie goes all the way inside Belle Delphine" was just the young woman sitting in a room and eating a photograph of the YouTuber. The misleading titles caused millions to leave disappointed and sexually frustrated. To be fair, Belle never said that she was going to post anything explicit, but of course everyone just assumed the worst, or best I guess. Hundreds of her most deranged and unsatisfied simps felt the need to get back at the young woman. In retaliation for being fooled, they began to flag her Instagram page endlessly for violating guidelines. On top of this, there was a bizarre claim that Belle was not paying her taxes, despite there being no evidence of such. The lack of proof didn't stop a deranged stalker from finding her house, posting the address online, and leaving a handwritten note on her door demanding that she pay the government what was owed. The police did little to help, only blurring the house on Google Maps, resulting in Belle moving for safety reasons. Speaking of unwell internet users, in another instance, Belle refused to take the money from a mentally ill simp that she felt bad for. The individual sent her Lilo & Stitch merchandise, along with his passport, credit cards, and psychiatric appointments. Eventually, Belle did get the police involved because she feared for the man's health. None of this deterred her from work though, as she would continuously message 50 to 100 different top patrons every day. The young lady has been pretty supportive of her fans reaching out, as she would explain that most of her simps are between the ages of 21 and 28, and often on the autistic spectrum. Belle was happy to Skype these individuals despite the occasional crazy until the murder of fellow e-girl Bianca Devins in July of 2019, when a deranged man believed that they were in a relationship with the young woman. While disturbing on its own, Belle was deeply affected when someone posted that she should be next, with the tweet receiving over 1,000 likes. Miss Delphine underestimated how far she could push the unruly internet mob. It was around this time that the multiple reports on her Instagram from scorned fans finally worked, and on July 19th of 2019, her account was deleted. This had a massive impact on Belle mentally and financially, as in a single moment she had lost a huge part of her social media standing.
When my Instagram got taken down, I was like, that's it.
Feeling that her online empire had imploded, she decided to log off the internet. Her plan was to reevaluate her life, leading her to not check any social media for a prolonged period of time, focusing instead on family. And there were some hard realities that Belle had to face. The young woman had just bought her first house using the Patreon money, and with this, Belle was incredibly proud of herself and felt the desire to reconnect with her father. After reaching out to him, he came from South Africa to visit and met her partner. This reunion started off well, but her dad was suspicious about how Belle was able to afford such a nice home. After completing a Google search, he became enraged. The man did not approve of her lifestyle, and after leaving, sent hurtful messages. It was at this moment that the e-girl realized there was long-term consequences to this career. Regardless of the hurt this caused, she still decided it was best to re-enter the online arena as there was no turning back. Being Belle Delphine though, she wasn't just going to reappear randomly online one day. There needed to be a story. So on October 7th, Belle posted what looked like a genuine mugshot of herself, even accompanied by a police watermark. The tweet instantly went viral as people asked two things. One, was the arrest fake? And two, if it was real, what did she do to get arrested? Her local police department refused to comment on the incident despite many inquiries, feeding into the internet's belief that Belle truly had gotten into trouble with the law. Feeling that the tension had gone on long enough, Belle shared the story of how she was allegedly incarcerated. As the tale goes, while holding a party at her house, the e-girl woke up the next morning to find that her hamster had been stolen by another woman who was in attendance the night before. She then reached out to the hamster stealer, but the kidnapper denied it. In retaliation, Belle graffitied the person's car, writing the words, "Bitch, give me my hamster back." She claimed this caused the arrest, but upon release was successfully able to get her rodent home safely. It wouldn't be until a year later in 2020 that Belle would finally open up about how the entire thing was a hoax to get people talking about her again, after she had taken a hiatus.
It was fake.
The same month as the hamster incident, Belle attended the Hub Award show on October 11th. There she sported her classic pink hair and wore a Grim Reaper costume with the back of the coat reading, "I eat children." People were shocked that the extremely private individual had even attended the event, with many adult stars swarming the young woman asking for a photo. The internet sensation ended up winning the Top Celebrity Award for the volume of people who searched for her name on the website. It's interesting to note that she won an Adult Star Award before she filmed anything explicit. This revival would end up being short-lived, as she dipped back out of the internet life only a month later. She wasn't seen again until a fan spotted Miss Delphine out in public with her arm in a sling and foot in a cast on June 14th of 2020. This was a rare glimpse of what she looked like in day-to-day life. Just a few days later, Belle returned to the internet on June 17th with her catchy parody of the song Gooba by rapper Tekashi69. The video's purpose was quite obviously to announce her return as well as promote her new TikTok and OnlyFans accounts. The announcement of OnlyFans excited her followers and led them to wonder if she would be posting something more lewd or if this was going to be another prank like the Hub account. Even with her fans' reservations, people subscribed for the high price of access.
Do you have a monthly fee right now to join your OnlyFans?
Yeah, it's $35.
So 30. Wow. Okay, so you're on the hold on one sec. So you're on the upper echelon easily in terms of what you charge monthly.
Even with this huge announcement, many fans were confused by the leaked photos of Belle injured, since only a few days later she seemed fine in the music video. The young woman took to Twitter a day after releasing her rap video to clear up these questions. Why was I gone for so long? Well, I wanted to come back earlier, but I suppose jumping off a roof into a kid's paddling pool wasn't a good idea, so I guess I had to stick with the rap video. While fans were anticipating the release of her OF account, she uploaded another music video featuring YouTuber Dahlia Kohai with a song called Plushie Gun. Given the graphic nature of these uploads, it's not a huge surprise that Belle's YouTube account was deleted soon after.
There's like suicide ideation in it. There's a lot of sexual,
the actual acting. She's got a shotgun in her mouth. She's cutting her face with a razor blade.
The channel had 1.8 million subscribers, with Delphine and her fans outraged over the outright ban. And with enough fighting, her channel eventually got reinstated. In late 2020, Belle decided to pull back the curtain a smidge by going on a number of podcasts that she listened to regularly, such as Cold Ones, H3, Impulsive, and The Official Podcast. Many listeners would comment that she came across as much more down-to-earth than expected. While up until this point, viewers saw her movements online as random and unpredictable, these appearances showed the world that Belle had total control over the situation. Everything was a calculated marketing move.
So I needed to now that I was arrested, I needed to think of a crime that wouldn't make people actually hate me. So I was thinking, okay, what does everyone collectively love? Animals. Everyone loves animals. So if I do something bad, like on behalf of animals, people won't be like, oh, her, she did a crime.
Interestingly enough, it's here that she first admitted to being intrigued by the idea of shooting true X-rated videos.
So does that mean you're not going to be ever doing hardcore porn?
No, it doesn't mean that. I might.
While fans were excited to see more of Belle's real personality, and many found her story incredibly interesting, people wondered why she was being so open all of a sudden. In addition to just talking to some of her favorite content creators, she started also sending out mystery boxes to anyone the e-girl admired in the space. To the YouTuber Will N.E., who had previously paid for the $2,500 Patreon account, she gifted a pink Fiat with her name on it, filled with interesting presents. The most interesting items inside the car were a giant teddy bear, a donut inner tube, a custom dartboard, a pink Nerf gun, a real chainsaw, a custom condom, and allegedly a vial of her blood. To the H3 podcast, she sent a jar of her spit. She even sent her leg cast to the now deceased 2Mad from when she supposedly jumped off a roof.
Unfortunately, there's no leg in there. God damn!
Belle may have given the hosts of the Happy Hour podcast the best gift of all, though, and I'm not talking about the fidget spinner rectal toy. She provided them the giant scoop that she would officially be posting hardcore pornography on her OF account.
So in my first porn video that I will ever do, where I'll show everything, I'm going to be selling the condom that we use in the video.
Oh my god.
This was going to be a huge jump for the now 20-year-old who had actually been fairly conservative up until this point. However, she had carefully taken several steps to get here along the way, such as posting fully nude pictures, doing her first ever girl collab photo shoot with Pixie Cat, and refusing to ever rule out hardcore scenes fully. What was interesting about Belle's decision to do this was the fact that she was already making millions. There wasn't really a need for her to go all the way. Instead, Miss Delphine just wanted to keep on pushing boundaries.
I'm getting a bit bored, and I like doing everything. I like dipping my toe in every single thing.
For years, Belle had been inching closer and closer to the possibility of filming an X-rated movie, but something mentally kept stopping her until she realized that sooner or later her private videos would be leaked, and then she would have absolutely no control over the reveal. With this rationale, Belle decided to cross the final boundary on her own terms. In true Delphine fashion, she would be releasing the explicit video on Christmas morning as a gift to her fans.
25th of December, Christmas, baby.
What a Christmas gift.
Okay.
Wow, Santa really delivered this.
She also toyed with the idea of launching an entire line of contraceptives called Gamer Girl condoms to expand her business. It was none other than Mike Malak that pointed out a small problem with her business strategy, he being an expert in that sort of thing.
Do you think the payout on that condom will be worth the detriment to the scene that is wearing a condom in your first porn? Because let's be honest, nobody wants to see that.
Even though Belle was going to do an explicit video, this was not going to be like your typical adult movie. Firstly, Belle was shooting it herself and had full control over what she posted. Secondly, the man in the video would not be just some random guy.
Who are you going to be doing the porn video with?
With my partner.
There we go.
The concealed man is Belle's long-term partner that would co-star her, with the two having been together before she was famous.
How long?
3 years.
3 years. So he's very much been there. And you started doing the OnlyFans stuff in the last year, 2?
I've only been doing OnlyFans since I came back to the internet for like 6 months.
Right, okay. So he's been there through the kind of like progression of...
Yeah, he's been there pretty much from the beginning. He was there before my name was Belle Delphine.
If what Belle is saying is true, that means she met this man when she was 17 because she didn't become Belle Delphine until she turned 18.
I know something that you've talked about, and obviously you're still evolving as an entertainer, because you said you've been with your partner for like 3 years now. And wait, is that correct?
Honestly, I don't know.
All right. Well,
like 3-4
okay,
years.
so we'll say 3-4 years.
It is also interesting to point out that if Belle started dating this partner in 2017, it lines up with the time she was stealing girls' nudes and posting them as her own to make money with the help of an older man, though I have no way of knowing if this is the same individual. What we do know about this partner is that he's at least a few years her senior. Belle refers to him as daddy, with him going everywhere with her, relying on him to cook, clean, and shop.
What are the gaps that are being filled in there?
Well, like he will drive me everywhere. He does like the shopping and all like the obviously the counting and taxes and stuff, and he'll like help me like cook food for myself.
It's clear these two have an odd dynamic that's shrouded in mystery. YouTuber and known domestic abuser I Am Alex once attempted to reveal his identity.
What? What do you mean she's got a boyfriend? Well, I can't do this video anymore then.
However, Belle denied this, and no one else has really been able to name the boyfriend outright. Through my search, I was able to uncover a man's name attached to Belle's business, and some other information through linking together social media pages. But I'm at a point that I don't think it's pertinent to the story at hand, so I'll just leave that research on the cutting room floor. The official reason Belle gives for keeping her partner's identity private is that if her viewers could put a face to the man in her videos, it would ruin the girlfriend fantasy she's selling.
Like just this less,
because it can put them off when they see their face, you know? I just want him to be in a
object.
non-demeaning way, a kind of yeah.
And with that, she stuck to her word and released her first ever hardcore scene on Christmas. If her goal was to make a lot of money quickly, this ended up being a smart move for the young woman, who ended up making $5 million in the first 7 minutes her first video launched. Despite the intense cash flow, Belle admitted to allowing the hate to bother her and feeling vulnerable.
You know, everyone's got their insecurities. I want to be seen in the best light, and I think that does take away from it because it comes across as not entirely genuine.
Not only was she getting comments online, but Belle's mother was also disturbed by the content her daughter was now posting. It turns out her mom stopped talking to her over it and has still not fully mended the relationship to this very day. Even more intriguing is that Belle understands why her parent reacted poorly and she wouldn't want her own children to be in sex work.
She wasn't at first, which I don't blame her at all. It's not a good thing for your child to do. I wouldn't want my children to do it.
Looking back on her first video, Belle admits to cringing and hating the way it turned out. There was so much pressure for her to release this first scene, leaving her unhappy as a result and wanting to redo the entire thing if she could. Despite her sadness, during this time she also engaged in a competition with YouTuber Moist Critical. The two of them were quickly buying up every available adult toy to add to their collections, so that they could be recognized for the world record of largest phallic device collection. Despite her plethora of risque publicity stunts on the internet up until this point, Belle was still not done pushing the limits. In previous interviews, the OnlyFans actress hinted at how she wasn't able to post her kinks online because she knew that many people were not into them and wouldn't find it interesting.
I have like kinks and stuff that I won't show on the internet or whatever, just because like I know people aren't just into it. I know it's just me who's into it.
However, in 2021, she took a sexual exploratory risk that landed her in trouble with many on the World Wide Web. It all started on January 12th when Belle tweeted out an image of herself with a gag over her mouth and her hands tied in the back of an unmarked van. She then wrote, "My perfect first date." This image was a promotion for her OnlyFans content involving a scene of her being assaulted in the woods. Instantly, she was criticized for fetishizing assault and kidnapping. What made it even worse was this was during Human Trafficking Awareness Month. With the added attention on her name, more people online began claiming that Belle promotes pedophilia with her childlike clothes and playing with kids' toys. It wasn't the first time Belle had been slammed for her aesthetic, but clearly it got to the young woman this time around, who released a string of tweets defending her actions. "I'm not sorry. Here's why. There is nothing wrong with enjoying power play and BDSM, where both people are consensual. I think saying because I enjoy consensual non-consent is promoting rape is the same as the argument that violence in video games promotes violence. I felt like dressing vintage that day and even styled my hair in a beehive that was very common for women of the time. All the clothes I wear are made for adults, so the only thing that people can comment on is the fact that I'm wearing a cute dress. It's very confusing for me since I see other people dress like it all the time. If it's about how I genetically look, I can't change that, and I will not apologize for it either. Nor will I stop being sexual since I am a sexually active adult." Whether Belle was genuinely pissed off for being criticized or merely feeding into the drama, it worked perfectly for her brand. Everyone was discussing her actions, thrusting her name into the internet spotlight.
You are a real person, Belle, and people know that you're a real person, and seeing that, people are like, oh, this is what women like.
My perfect first date, with a series of not safe for work pictures of her tied up in a van, tied up pushed against a tree.
Despite the rebuttal, she would end up deleting her tweets and disappearing from the internet once again, this time for 14 months. She returned during the viral Johnny Depp trial, where she pretended to be Amber Heard and also ate a light bulb, although of course it wasn't real. Further, she promised her simp army more OnlyFans content starting on May 1st of 2022. She didn't let her fans down as she began posting content with people other than the masked man. In June, Belle collabed with fellow model Tazia. This woman became popular for her Dungeons & Dragons cosplay, matching Belle's brand. The two of them posted themselves in compromising positions while wearing matching lingerie. It was around this time that many people believed Belle and her partner may have broken up. The reason for this being that the young woman only posted solo images, leading to disappointment as they became accustomed to racier scenes. Do any autistics remember the last photo of them actually together? It would explain the boring comeback and zero marketing genius style epic troll trademark antics to get everyone's attention. The creativity well dried up, it seems. In fact, it would explain why her OF seems exclusively just nudes and solo stuff now. Fueling these rumors was when Belle denied being secretly married. On top of this, Belle would go on to collab with several different male YouTubers, posing for photos in a sexual manner while plugging her OnlyFans. In June of 2022, she posed with 2Mad. This sent viewers into a spiral as they truly believed that the two were sleeping together. Making the pairing even more controversial were the outfits they wore. 2Mad was dressed in a gorilla costume, which many accused of being purposefully racist. Belle didn't seem to care how the internet responded to this, as she dropped a parody music video soon after. In November, Belle was next seen with musician Oliver Tree. The two of them took pictures together as well as filmed odd TikToks that caused the internet to believe Belle was now with Oliver. Next, she teamed up with the streamer Finster. The pair recreated a popular meme and even allegedly kissed, although those pictures were never posted. The event that would truly get her OnlyFans numbers up again is when she would have her first ever threesome marking the return of her masked boyfriend, along with adult star Mia Malkova. This occurred on May 2nd of 2023, and despite her partner being involved, many noted that he did not actually touch the other woman during the filming. It's clear Belle and her partner have some pretty firm boundaries for where they draw lines, with her even going so far as to say that he is the only man she has ever slept with. Despite minor gripes, most of her paying fans were pleased with her stepping over another line in what she was willing to post online. Moving forward to the present day, Miss Delphine has certainly done her best to keep people talking, though it's become increasingly difficult for the adult star to draw the same headlines as during her bathwater heyday. In April of 2024, she released a life-size doll of herself, which came shipped in a pink sparkly coffin and sported a pair of her used underwear. Despite the provocative nature of this product, it didn't receive anywhere near the attention of her stunts of years past. And that is one of the biggest things I've noticed while researching this video. As time has gone on, her relevance has slowly waned, as you can tell by looking at Google Trends metrics. But I haven't really seen anyone break down why this is. Well, I have a few theories. For one, I feel the moment she started doing hardcore videos, a lot of intrigue was gone now that the cat was out of the bag, literally. The teasing of her doing adult content kept people engaged with the story for years. Once she crossed that line, people lost interest. Sure, she may have made a lot of money when she filmed the scene, but since she isn't the best shooting adult videos, which she admits herself, people quickly got bored. On top of this, Belle going on all those podcasts completely destroyed her persona. What was once this weird character where no one knew where fiction ended and reality began, now became a real woman who admitted it was all an act. The saddest part is, I don't think she had anything to gain by going on these shows besides chatting with creators who she was a fan of herself. It would have been best to stay as secretive as possible. Finally, now that Belle is in her mid-20s, the aesthetic she became famous for just doesn't work as well as when she was 19. She doesn't look like a teenager anymore, and Belle even admits that if she was still doing this at 30, it would become pretty weird. All that said, she has made millions of dollars and can retire whenever she wants. And at the end of the day, I think she's approached making adult content the least degenerate way possible. Hear me out. She has always made content on her own terms without any sort of pimp coercing or profiting off of the videos. When she did decide to make hardcore content, it was with her spouse, which she says is the only man she has ever had sex with. And with all the money made, she bought herself and her mother nice houses in the British countryside, while avoiding the drugs and tax evasion seen by a lot of the other women in the space. With the help of a partner to generate ideas with, a deep understanding of internet culture, and her career perfectly coinciding with the rise of OnlyFans, everything in her story was a recipe for a lucrative yet fleeting online career. Despite the edgelord persona, in reality, Belle Delphine might just be the most wholesome name in adult entertainment.